The entertainment industry is finally starting to accept that they have lost. But man, are they bitter about it. Toxic fandom. How Hollywood is battling fans who are just out for blood, from social media boot camps to super fan focus groups. Okay, if by social media boot camps you mean actually training some of these morons how to use social media without causing an incident, that's a good thing. Super fan focus groups? Look, do you mean like super fans like the ones that Amazon flew out, all those fake geeks that never even cared about Lord of the Rings, yet they pretended to for one video, and then when Rings of Power came out, they never talked about it again? Interesting. Are those the super fans you're talking about? Because we don't really need any more input from them. On August 28th, Amanda Stenberg, the lead of the Star Wars fan fiction series, The Acolyte, posted an 8.5-minute video to her Instagram stories about Lucasfilm's abrupt decision not to pick up the show for a second season, just a month after the season 1 finale streamed on Disney+. I guess they still gave it a month to try to make some money, and it couldn't do it. So it's not a huge shock for me, Stenberg said. Since the series was announced in current year -4, she continued, we start experiencing a rampage of, I would say, hyper-conservative bigotry, vitriol, prejudice, hatred, and hateful language directed towards us. So criticism. In other words, The Acolyte was the latest high-profile target of quote-unquote toxic fandom. No. I would argue The Acolyte was the latest victim of toxic positivity. If they had listened to the quote-unquote toxic fandom when this show was in production, it would not have flopped. But they chose to bury their head in the sand. They have no right to be mad. So toxic fan, the catch-all term for when fan criticism hurdles from good faith dissatisfaction into relentlessly negative, often bigoted online campaigns against either the project or the stars or creative leaders. What would be relentlessly negative, often bigoted online campaigns? Okay. Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking, though, like that's not what your guys' problem is. Like, they keep telling us that we're insignificant, we're just a minority, and I agree. Even if you consider the biggest among our ranks, like people like Nerdrotic, or I guess now Star Wars Theory as well, our audiences are tiny compared to the number of consumers out there. We don't have the type of power that they seem to think we do. No, all of your shows are failing not because e-celebs said something negative about them. They're failing because even normies are starting to see what all of this for the garbage it is. Even the normies see through the smoke and mirrors now. That's why you're failing. In a franchise economy increasingly dependent upon established audience devotion to drive the bottom line, the threat of toxic fandoms poisoning that enthusiasm has become seemingly intractable headache for most every studio, and it's only getting worse. Okay, the gall of them to say this. If you really think it's the economy is increasingly dependent upon an established audience devotion, why do you keep discarding and disregarding that established audience? Like, look at Star Wars. Like you were just talking about The Acolyte. When Disney bought Star Wars, it had an established audience of devoted fans, and Disney just flipped them the bird. Oh, it's not for you. We're making this for the wider audience. And now they're mad that the established audience, the devoted fans, aren't there to save them? No, you guys are the ones that keep driving your established fans away. You don't get to complain when you get what you want and your established fans leave. You wanted us to leave. You made it clear you hated us. We left. Why don't you blame the modern audience for your failures now? They're the ones you're appealing to, after all. So it comes with the territory, but it's gotten incredibly loud the last couple of years, says veteran marketing executive at a major studio. People are just out for blood regardless. They think that the purity of the first version will never be replaced. and or you've done something to upset the canon of a beloved franchise, they're going to take you down for doing so. Yeah, this is the perfect example of these people having no clue. Like, you could tell that the people in charge of these franchises now are not fans of them themselves. They drove away all the actual fans. Like, look, Henry Cavill was an actual fan of The Witcher. So they had to drive him off of the show because he was forcing them to stick to the lore. Yeah, they get rid of everyone who actually cares. And then they're like, well, why aren't you accepting my new current year version of this thing that has nothing to do with the thing you fell in love with? Clearly, you must be a bigot. Sometimes toxic fans behave reactively. A House of the Dragon episode featuring two female characters kissing and an episode of The Last of Us focusing on a gay couple were both review bombed. The practice of mobbing sites like Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb with negative user reviews, which gained mainstream attention following the premiere of current year -7 Soy Wars: The Last Jedi. And an entire YouTube ecosystem is devoted to declaring projects like The Marvels and The Boys woke garbage, among other pungent sobriquets. They're actually right about that last one. I'm not going to lie. There is definitely financial incentive for people on our side to label everything woke garbage. However, woke garbage does need to be exposed. And those that overuse the term, they will end up fading away. Because at a certain point, it's a trust issue. Yeah, just like how these corporations that buy up existing IPs that fans loved, at first they might be willing to give them the benefit of the doubt, but after enough flops, they just leave and don't care. And it's the same thing with YouTubers. If you have a YouTuber that's caught lying to you or over exaggerating things or just outright being dishonest, like in this case, calling everything woke, I've seen a few people but like refer to pretty much anything that has a female character is woke. Like, no, it's not. But okay. And there's even been a few like fucking Dave the Diver has been called woke. Like, no, that game's not woke at all. It has a cast of characters and like the restaurant patrons that you would expect for the setting it takes place in, but there's nothing woke in that game at all. Now, sure, it might look woke at first glance, but some people who never play it just accuse it of such. And then their own fans who actually played it are like, this guy's full of shit. And that is how you lose trust. So just as frequently, the backlash begins before the project has seen the light of day. Well, usually, like it's that "how do you know it's shit" meme, basically. Like, yeah, we've learned pattern recognition. We can spot red flags. Sometimes we're wrong, but that's why I wait 6 months for the cases in which I'm wrong. A read it mega thread dedicated to outrage over Bridgerton casting a black woman as the love interest of Francesca. Yeah, I don't watch that shit. I don't care. I don't even know what this is referring to. Whatever. Not my problem. Social media epithets directed at the actors of color cast as elves and dwarves in Lord of the Rings of Power. Death threats aimed at Leslie Jones during the press tour of Ghostbusters 2016. The vast majority of them either are fake and never happened, or they were done by people on the other side trying to make us look bad. Like they do this all the time with people who show up in Nazi paraphernalia at right-wing rallies. Do you ever wonder like how quick these guys are to try to dox and ruin the lives of quote unquote Nazis? Why do they never call for that for all the Nazis at right-wing rallies? Why do they not call? Oh, right. It's because all those quote unquote Nazis are either glowies or left-wing operatives that are just there to make the whole movement look bad. So they're not going to try to get their own in trouble. Yeah, I just love how the media keeps finding reasons to talk about Ghostbusters 2016. No one cares about that crap. It was pretty much completely forgotten. So, of course, they had to bring it up again. Yeah, perhaps the greatest irony is of this phenomenon is the disproportionate impact these toxic fandoms have relative to their actual number. Yeah, and listening to bad advice like this is why all these studios are failing. Like, oh, don't listen to those toxic gamers, those alt right chuds. They're a small fraction of the population. They don't matter. Don't listen to them. And this is the result. It turns out we speak for a much larger chunk of the population than you thought. It's almost as if the woke were the ones who were the tiny minority. Yeah, they made it seem like they were the majority because they created echo chambers, because they banned all of us for disagreeing with them. So then they saw is other people agreeing with them, and they drank their own Kool-Aid. Well, everyone agrees with me. The vast majority of any fandom are casual fans, says John Van Shitters, VP Star Trek Brand Development. No, this is objectively true, and this is why they fucked up. Because while they were dismissing us as just a toxic minority, now they're learning that we had the same concerns as the majority. Most of the people that didn't go out and buy Concord, they didn't know who I am. They didn't know who Nerdrotic is. They didn't know who Geeks and Gamers are. They were just normies who saw that shit and immediately were like, nah, we remember the last woke garbage we bought. I think we're done. All right, so we've been at the story franchise since the 90s. Number of people who live and die on their franchises are very, very few, and those who came after things that they espouse to love with Venom are really, really tiny subset of the really already smaller subset of the fandom. So it's just much easier to see it now. You're literally telling on the woke. Yeah, this is how the woke were able to trick all these companies. Like, oh, look, we speak for everybody. Look, you see Twitter, the site we used to have the before Musk bought it was a far left echo chamber. Everyone on Twitter agrees with us. Totally not because we ban everyone who disagrees with us. I don't know if it's really much broader than where things were in 1995. It's just the bullhorn wasn't there. Now apply what you just said to the far left wokies. Please go ahead. Now, for some, combating that bullhorn amounts to acting as if they can't hear it. Yeah, that's what Ubisoft did. Ubisoft ignored toxic gamer talk, and look what happened to them. Particularly when it's negative, toxic conversation, we don't even engage, says a TV marketing executive. Yeah, this is what's called toxic positivity. Yeah, every criticism is viewed as negative, as toxic, and is ignored. And then when it turns out they were right, you still blame them. So like with toxic people, you try to not give it too much oxygen. One principal concern is that reacting to these kinds of attacks risk alienating fans who are unhappy with creative choices about a franchise, but haven't tipped over into abusive behavior. So what are you doing instead? You're just going to continue on those bad choices that are making them unhappy? So a studio may attempt to amplify friendlier voices instead. We'll reply to comments that are positive and elevate those things, the TV exec says. Yeah, you realize even most normies no longer take you seriously. Like, if anything, if I see this a studio replying like that, I just assume the comment was bought and paid for. Like it was one of their bots that posted it, and they're just making it look more positive. It's still, toxic fandoms have grown so pernicious that they've become a fact of life for many. So so powerful that while talent executives and publicists will privately bemoan the issue, fear of inadvertently triggering another backlash kept several studios from speaking for this story, even on background. As one rep put it, it's just a lose-lose. Now, like Clownfish TV was saying, alternatively, maybe these studios are catching on to the hostile media being one of the biggest problems. And they're starting to realize that, yeah, talking to this media is in fact lose-lose. Hey, last time we listened to them, we lost a lot of money. Last time we listened to these guys, it destroyed one of our best franchises. Maybe we should distance ourselves from these fucking clowns. So those who did talk with Variety all agreed that the best defense is to avoid provoking fandoms in the first place. Wow! Why didn't you try that 10 years ago? In addition to standard focus group testing, only if you're using focus groups made up of those actual fans. The problem with focus group testing, though, more often than not, the focus groups are like, say, if I was shilling a fan service anime, the focus group would be nothing but 50-year-old church ladies. Like, that's the kind of stupid shit they do. So you really think any of the people trying to constantly backstab each other would do anything positive? Yeah. Oh, hell no. They're evil. They can only destroy. They can't create. Studios will assemble a specialized cluster of superfans to assess possible marketing materials for a major franchise project. Okay, this is actually a good idea. You should have actual fans as the final say in a lot of these things. But the problem is they likely don't go looking for actual fans. It's like what Amazon did with their Lord of the Rings super fans. No, they hire a bunch of fake geeks that have big audiences to pretend like they're fans. See, at least when I use the anime thumbnails in my videos, that's anime I actually watch. So, yeah. Can't say the same thing for these guys. They are very vocal, says the studio executive. They would just tell us if you do that, fans are going to retaliate. So these groups have even let studios to alter projects. One day we're actually going to see some of these altered projects come out. So we'll see whether it was positive or negative. So if it's early enough and the movie isn't finished yet, we can make those kinds of changes. So several studio insiders say they often put their talent through social media boot camp. They should. You see how dumb these guys, that all they're good for is causing drama now. Damn, they should be going to social media boot camps. Holy shit. In some cases, when a character is intentionally challenging a franchise's status quo. So what this means, when a character is intentionally challenging a franchise's status quo. Yeah, when we intentionally made something we know the fans won't like, while understanding full well we're dependent on the existing fans, we're going to do something we know they won't like on purpose. All right, sounds brilliant, guys. Keep doing this. Studios will, with the actors' permission, take over their social media accounts entirely. When things get really bad, especially involving threats of violence, security firms will scrub talent information from the internet to protect them from doxing. Yeah, notice that they never provide actual proof of this. Or God, my favorite. Oh, I got a death threat. Okay, show us. And it's just someone saying, go Minecraft yourself. Like, motherfucker, that's not a death threat. Like, a death threat would be, like, if I were to send you a DM with a photo of your house and your address and your kid's school schedule and bus pickup route, and then a picture of a gun, and then a picture of a pool of blood with a body in it, or things like that. Like, you could view that as a fucking death threat. But no, most of the things these guys consider to be a death threat, it's like, I hope you die. Like someone telling them, I hope you die. Oh, you should Minecraft yourself. I got a death threat. Yeah, that's how you know these sheltered pieces of shit have never gotten a real death threat. And plus, most of these so-called death threats are from themselves. And we could thank Brianna Wu for exposing this. Remember when he himself was caught, not necessarily sending death threats, but harsh trolling comments against himself? When he forgot to log out of his main Steam account after trying to drama farm before deciding I'll create drama on my alt account. You guys remember that? That's what it is most of the time. And that's why I am 100% in favor of the cops getting involved and investigating every single one of these so-called death threats. Let the authorities know and let them investigate every single one of them. Because even if it does end up being someone on our side, they should be arrested. They shouldn't be sending death threats. That will be us cleaning the trash out of our ranks. And when it's revealed that it's someone on their side doing it, now we got all the ammo we could ever want to shut them down. Now, in some particularly egregious cases, in the direct response has been Nesse in current year -2 after Obi-Wan actor Moses Ingram denounced the hundreds of racist messages sent to her about the role. And all of them were from the left trying to make the right look bad. There's nothing anyone can do about this. There's nothing anyone can do to stop this hate, she said. Lucasfilm posted a statement to its Star Wars social media accounts that read, in part, there are more than 20 million sentient species in the Star Wars galaxy. Don't choose to be a racist. Wow, you guys, well, keep doing it. Like, I don't really care if they're completely clueless. We're just gonna keep winning. Like, they put out an article like this because they're scared. They're finally starting to realize after all the major flops we've seen this year that we are winning, and they still don't understand why. They still view themselves as the good guys. How are the bad guys winning? I don't think they'll ever realize, and that's fine with me. We already have alternatives out there that are only getting better and better and better. We don't need them. Yeah, things are not going to go well for these freaks. Even if they course correct now, what purpose is there in going back to them when the alternatives are already better? They're done, and they did it to themselves. The Star Wars accounts also shared a video of Obi-Wan star Ewan McGregor saying the abuse made him sick to my stomach, and that if you're sending her bullying messages, you're no Star Wars fan in my mind. And now, I hear that Ewan McGregor has been basically begging Disney and Lucasfilm for more work, like begging for another Obi-Wan series. Well, maybe if all of these, non-Star Wars fans showed up to support, you might have enough to actually get another series, but nah, doesn't matter. Later that year, the cast of Rings of Power condemned relentless racism, threats, harassment, and abuse. Okay, now this, I think it was just them trying to deflect. Like, they knew this thing was going to be a dumpster fire, and so they were trying their usual thing, like, help, we're being harassed. Didn't work this time. That's what makes this so funny. Yeah, I'm just scared. Yeah, we don't need to hear about all this whining. All right, WandaVision. Yeah, the rest of this is just them. Is really just them whining about all the alleged harassment they get. Like, dude, you guys have never gotten a real death threat. Well, I'm not going to say never, but the type of people that cry that someone telling them to go Minecraft themselves is a death threat, they likely never got a real one. I mean, I think some of these big name stars probably do get legitimate death threats and stalkers. I'm not gonna pretend like they don't, but I'm kind of reluctant to believe they're as bad as they claim, seeing as how they overreact to people on the internet saying mean things about them. You want to know what my solution is when people on the internet are being mean to me? And I have no desire to continue talking to them, I just block them. Problem solved. That's all. You don't have to acknowledge them. You don't have to say anything. Just bye. That's it. It's that easy. Every time someone does something you want to block them for, you don't need to go running to the media to make a story out of it. Like, just block them.